Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. My name is Shane Hart. Excited to share with you my focus for promoting equitable access to educational programs as part of my superintendent uh, licensure journey here through Youngstown State in Module 6. The title for today's presentation is Promoting Equitable Access to Educational Programs, a focus on Title I staffing um, and resource allocation. Throughout this presentation, we're going to look at the critical importance of equitable access to educational opportunities and also get into specific strategies for addressing disparities in Title I staffing. This has been an issue lately here at Lancaster City Schools, and we are reallocating some resources for that purpose. By the end of this, hopefully you'll see some of the challenges that we faced, evidence-based recommendations for improvement, and a roadmap for advocacy and implementation. So let's go ahead and get going here with our next slide. Okay, so again, today the presentation is on promoting equitable access on educational programs. On this slide, we're going to briefly introduce the importance of ensuring that all students have equal opportunities to succeed in our educational system. Equitable access to educational programs is not just a goal, it's a fundamental principle that lies at the heart of our commitment to educational excellence and social justice. Disparities in access to resources and opportunities can exacerbate existing inequities and hinder students' academic and socio-emotional development. By addressing some of these disparities and promoting equitable access to educational programs, we can create a more inclusive and supportive learning environment that enables every student to reach their full potential. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and look at the area of focus here, which is the Title I staffing and resource allocation. So these Title I programs are federally funded initiatives aimed at providing additional support to schools with high percentages of students from low-income families. My personal school that I'm at is Gorsuch West. We have a very high number of students in free and reduced lunch programs. So yeah, we do have a big need for that in my specific school as well as our school district. These programs play a crucial role in addressing educational disparities and ensuring that all students have access to those essential resources and support services. Sometimes you'll see disparities in staffing levels and resource allocation within the Title I program, and those can create barriers to access and perpetuate inequities in student outcomes. In this presentation, we're going to delve into the current state of the Title I staffing and resource allocation in our district, analyze the impact on disparities of these disparities on student success, and explore strategies also for promoting more equitable distribution of those resources to support the success of all students. Looking at some data analysis. This is where we're going to try to aim to gain a deeper understanding of the disparities and barriers in the Title I staffing and resource allocation. Through a comprehensive analysis of student demographics and Title I staffing levels across the schools, we can identify disparities in resource allocation and access to educational opportunities. By examining like some of the enrollment patterns, participation rates, staffing ratios, we can assess the extent of inequities within that Title I program and their impact on student outcomes. This is obviously a data-driven approach that will provide valuable insights into the challenges we face and inform our recommendations for promoting more equitable access to some of those educational programs. Okay, moving on to the policy analysis section, we're going to be exploring the role of the existing board policies and administrative guidelines in addressing inequities in Title I staffing and resource allocation. By examining the alignment between current policies and our equity goals, we can identify opportunities for policy change and also improvement. Excuse me. Our analysis will focus on the implications of existing policies for Title I staffing, resource allocation, again, programmatic interventions as well. Based on the analysis, we're going to formulate recommendations for policy changes aimed at promoting equity and inclusion with the Title I program and the broader educational system as a whole. All right, let's turn our attention to the recommendations section where we outline Actionable steps for promoting equity and addressing disparities in the Title I staffing resource allocation. Our recommendations are grounded in evidence-based practices and aimed at addressing the root causes of inequities within the Title I program. By increasing staffing levels in Title I schools, implementing needs-based resource allocation strategies, providing targeted professional development for educators, and strengthening family and community partnerships, and also establishing accountability measures, we can create a more equitable and inclusive learning environment for all students. All right, this slide, we're going to highlight some key areas for action that will drive change and address inequities in Title I staffing and resource allocation. By focusing on equitable resource allocation, increasing staffing levels in the Title I schools, providing ongoing professional development for teachers, strengthening family and community engagement, establishing accountability measures, we're going to be able to create that more equitable and inclusive educational system. Each of these areas plays a crucial role in advancing our equity goals and ensuring that they have all the resources that they need. All right. Our advocacy plan is essential for leading change and addressing inequities in the Title I staffing and resource allocation. By engaging stakeholders in dialogue and collaboration, advocating for policy changes, partnering with community organizations, utilizing data and evidence, fostering a culture of continuous improvement, we can drive meaningful change and promote equity in our educational system. Through strategic advocacy efforts, we're going to amplify our voice and mobilize support for policies and practices that prioritize equity and ensure that all students have the resources and opportunities they need to succeed. Implementation strategies are crucial for turning recommendations into action, like meaningful action, and driving meaningful change in our district. By developing a comprehensive implementation plan, providing ongoing support and professional development, engaging stakeholders, monitoring progress, and adjusting strategies as needed, we can ensure that our recommendations are effectively implemented and have a positive impact on our student outcomes. Implementation is a collaborative process that requires the collective effort of educators, admin, families, community members. Together, we can create more equitable and inclusive learning environments for all students. In conclusion, our presentation has kind of highlighted the critical importance of promoting the equitable access to educational programs and disparities in the Title I staffing and resource allocation, outlined actionable recommendations, discussed advocacy strategies, and explored implementation strategies for driving meaningful change in our district. As we move forward, we're going to be recommitting ourselves to the pursuit of equity and excellence in Lancaster City Schools. I just want to go ahead and say thank you as well for taking the time to listen. I am going to try to put a slide here on this as well with some data that you can kind of look at as well on the next slide. And here is how we make some of our decisions as well, based on childrenandyouth.ohio.gov. Excuse me, coming from the governor's office here about what poverty means and what those levels are and what they look like. We can also see here in our school district, when we're looking at our 5 elementary schools at least,